Welcome to the Stories to Tell podcast. In this edition, I have the pleasure of speaking with multi-award-winning and best-selling author Sonja Dewing. Sonja tells a remarkable story about spending time in the Amazon, her love for participating in roller derby, and we kick things off with the unique story of how she started her own unique publishing company.
So I was at a writer's conference, and I met this woman who was working on a story, and I was so excited about it. It was about a woman sniper, and she, not only that, this author had been in military organizations. She was a Navy nurse. She had been all over the world. She had done her research. She was excited about this book, and she was going to go see an agent. And it was funny too, is she was also in the Civil Air Patrol. So her and I connected over that. An hour later, I saw her walking down the hallway with the same look, because I had had the same kind of situation with an agent years before this. So I kind of had an idea, but I stepped up to her and I said, so what happened? How did it go with the agent?
Yeah.
And she said to me, well, the agent said that that my novel doesn't make sense because a woman can't use a sniper rifle. And I said, where the hell is he? I want to talk to this guy.
I bet.
Unfortunately, he was gone.
Oh.
But I was like, I made it a point to help her publish her book. So, but it also, at that point, I had already started Women's Thriller Writers Association.
Oh.
So then I knew, that was the point in which I knew that it was needed. It was necessary to help women write and publish because of agents like that. Yeah. Were
you hearing through the members of the association, was there this common refrain, like, I've got this amazing story, nobody will pick it up for me or something like that?
Well, there were a lot of different refrains. Like, I was during COVID, I was at a conference online, and a young woman was saying she went to a college class on spy novels, and she was so excited. And every single spy novel, the female character was like the Bond girl, no real story of her own. And she went to her professor and said, I'd love to include some stories with strong female characters.
Yes.
And his response to her was, well, there aren't any. This is it. Right? So it was conversations like that. I do have other women in my group who have gotten those kind of responses from agents, from publishers, diverse books, diverse writers. So it's sad that we still have to deal with that. But yeah, I'm glad to be here to help.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you then took that need, that gap in the market and that passion that you have to get these voices out there, get these words out there to start your own publishing company, right?
Correct. So I started Women's Thriller Writers Association, but then I also have, it's called Plot Duckies Publishing.
What's that?
Plot Duckies Publishing.
Awesome.
And we publish only books with strong female characters. Yes.
Wow. And how long have you been doing that?
Okay. I started Plot Duckies in 2018.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
And I started Women's Thriller in 2021.
Well, so that's honestly because I'm leading up to, I've got my hand on the book here of one of the most recent outcomes of probably your association and your publishing efforts for your new book. And it's called Thrill Hers. And so talk to me about this book. How did it come together? And I've been reading it and I find it great.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Well, so when I started the association, started bringing on more and more members, we meet weekly, and it was kind of their idea. My idea was just to support everybody in writing their own stuff. And so I forget who, I think it was Dita Dow or Salima Ishq. They said, hey, let's do this thing. Let's do a project together. And I looked up, what was the top tropes in thrillers right now, which isolated locations was one of them. So that's how we came up with a theme. And
okay.
yeah, and so basically I put it out there to everybody. Write a story, 10,000 words, strong female character in an isolated location, and that's where it went.
And it starts off with a bang too. This the Unholy Script.
Oh yeah,
I love that one. It had so much good. I guess all of them actually they take you on a little bit of a twist.
Yes.
You think maybe where it's going to go, but then all of them are so well written, and there's some depth there where it's kind of takes you to maybe where you didn't think. They're all very good.
Right. I am so impressed by all the women in this group. And all the writing that they've done. And we actually just won first place in New Mexico Press Women's Contest for anthologies.
Wow.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is awesome.
Thank you.
So that's the multiple award winning now, right?
Yes.
What are some of the other awards then too?
So in my Idolmaker series, so the second book after Toy the Gods, won second place in New Mexico Press Women and was also a finalist for the Silver Falchion, which is a Killer Nashville award.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That said, being an author, right, is perhaps like being in a band or, it's or an artist, a painter, a sculptor, whatever artistic endeavor it is, there is so much good work. I mean, you pour your heart, literally, and soul into these things, but to get noticed and to feel that recognition or to know that people are paying attention, it has to feel good to get some of those recognitions, right?
Right. Absolutely. And I knew I'm tearing up because I knew when we did Thrill Hers that it was an amazing, I have never seen an anthology like this out there. And the sales are doing well.
Awesome.
Books at the Bosque keeps asking for more copies.
Congrats.
Right.
Congrats.
So I knew it was something special. So I was excited to submit it to the contest, and I'm kind of not surprised that we won first.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Good for you. And what's kind of neat too, if there are readers who are just kind of interested in this passion of yours, having these strong female lead characters at the end of every short story, you take the opportunity to give a little bit more about the author and where they can be contacted, maybe to watch out for some of more of their works. And I know I've done that to make a note of them. So that's a kind of another neat outcome of how you are promoting these writers. I'm sure they're going to get additional attention themselves out of putting this
Absolutely.
together. Yeah.
Absolutely. And some of them have decided to write a novel. So these short stories are kind of a prequel to a novel that they're working on. So yeah. The Women's Thriller Writers Association is going to come out with a new anthology every year. So if anyone's looking for something interesting, this year, our theme is going to be weapons of choice.
Oh, wow.
And it just so happens to be based on one of our members who, her and her husband went on a trip, and they were checked into a hotel room. And he went to go lift one of the pillows, and there was a gun under the pillow.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Wow.
So they had to call in the hotel management, and they had to call in the police, and it was crazy. But we decided then that had to be our theme for this year's anthology.
Have you ever dreamed of just getting away from it all and going on a wild adventure? How about to the Amazon? Well, Sonja did just that.
Okay, absolutely. So I had written the first version of Toy of the Gods probably in about 2012, and I knew it had to be in the Amazon, this story, but I had never been. And so I had been thinking about going. And then at the time, I think it was 2013, I was working at UNM, and I was just unhappy. And suddenly I came, me and my parents sold our house that we had been living in together, and suddenly I had money. And so I did a crazy thing. I sold everything that I didn't care about out of my apartment, got rid of my apartment, moved my stuff to my dad's garage, and went off to South and Central America for 7 weeks.
Wow.
And what was even greater was this was one of my first travels, across, to South America. And so I invited my best friend, and she quit her job too. And so the two of us traveled together, Costa Rica, Panama, and Peru.
Wow.
And so because of this trip, I specifically wanted to stop in the Amazon. So we planned, while we were in Peru, we planned a stop. It's at Tambubata, an eco resort is where we stayed. Right. So we stayed at Tambubata Eco Resort, and at first I wasn't sure it was going to be exciting because, you're at a resort.
Yes.
How exciting could it be? But you fly into Puerto Maldonado, which is a little airport, and then you get on a bus for an hour. And, when we got to the place where we get the boat, it was all muddy, and it was not civilization,
So you did plane, you did bus and boat, and you're still not at where your end destination is.
The boat takes about 30 to 45 minutes to get to the eco resort.
There you go.
So you are not anywhere where you can walk to a 7-Eleven,
yeah.
right? Absolutely. And as we're getting off the boat to go to the eco resort, the path is mud, and there's this large gray snake crossing the path, and I'm like, I am where I'm supposed to be.
Oh. Welcome to the jungle.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Right? It was beautiful and amazing. And even reading books, I read a lot of books about the Amazon, but they don't prepare you, for the real thing.
Yeah. And so that's interesting, because you could have had a whole different sort of outcome there when you stepped off that boat, when it was nothing but mud and snake. This is your first person or first thing that you saw. You could have said, get me back on this boat. What am I doing here? But instead, it sounds like you really embraced it.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, the jungle itself is its own character, right? For me, especially in Toy of the Gods, it's, all my characters have their own goals. The jungle doesn't care, right? It's going to push back on everything anybody wants to do. We had done a lot of research ahead of time. Definitely had, some bug spray and stuff to bring, because the mosquitoes hang there like curtains. And, you bring long sleeves, even though it's hot, you have to bring long sleeves to help keep the mosquitoes off. And, it's just a lot of research beforehand to kind of figure out what to bring. But because we were backpacking, we had to keep everything light. So we couldn't bring a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Were they, I see you kind of it's almost like you can see yourself kind of going back in those memories.
Yes.
Would you do day trips, or would you end up camping out in the middle of the jungle?
So the eco resort feels like a camp as it is, because you walk in, everything is open air except for, I think it was the kitchen area. The kitchen and the eating area was closed in. There was one generator, and the generator ran the internet for 1 hour so that they could connect to the outside world. Your bedroom was like a cave kind of thing. You had 3 walls, and your other wall was open to the outside, to the jungle.
Yeah.
Which, at night, we got there at night as the sun was setting, and we get into our room, and basically, I don't know, it just felt like a cave. And you have one little light, or a candlelight in your room, and that's it. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So even after, let's say you walk up that path, the snake is on its way, you make it to the resort, and you get into your cave. Were there moments of, I could go for a Starbucks or something,
Well, I am a coffee addict, but, we kind of knew, we really didn't have choices of what of doing much of anything other than what they offered us. But I remember, being totally happy, always having, what I needed. Gosh, there was one day, my favorite day. So you would, at night you're staying in the eco resort. During the day, you'd have options of going on side trips. So one day we got to go to a fruit farm, and they cut off a star fruit right off the tree. Oh. And I've never been able to find one fresh here in the States. But right off the tree, fresh fruit, just
you still smell and taste it, maybe.
Right?
Yeah.
It was amazing. And then one day we took a side trip. We were the only two who wanted to do the canoe. So anytime my best friend and I went on these trips, if there was something more interesting, we would be there. So we got on the canoe and went down the river to see a local farm where they grow and give out more medicinal type things. And that was fun to see, so a lot of interesting little side trips. Yeah. Oh, and fish. We got to fish for piranha.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
What?
Yeah, they're little yellow piranha.
And did you bring him in onto shore or on your boat, or it was just
you hook them? I think we threw them all back because they're really tiny. You really can't. They're very bony, from what I understand. So you can't really eat them.
It was more the thrill of seeing them in action, probably.
Yeah.
Did they devour whatever you put down in the water just in like seconds or whatever, like you see in the movies? That
is the movies. I mean, you still don't want to, stick your foot in there with a bunch of piranha, but usually, they have to be attracted to something. They have to, there needs to be blood. There needs to be, I mean, I don't think they're as fast as the movies show, right?
Not as
dangerous.
Yeah, but still probably it's thrilling to see them go. And
right?
I guess they got ugly big teeth and stuff.
Oh,
even though they're a little small.
Very sharp teeth.
Coming back to New Mexico, you came back to New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a period of just kind of getting used to life again, or
kind of, right? Because even outside the jungle, we had been backpacking across Costa Rica, Panama, and then we went to Peru, and then we went back to Costa Rica, spent another week learning to surf.
Oh,
and
fun.
Right, and all we had were the backpacks on our backs, right? So it felt strange to come back to all these boxes of stuff.
A car,
right? To things. And so
yes.
I'm definitely more a minimalist now. I try not to put, sentiment on things. I put sentiment into the people that I know and to experiences. So I feel like I brought that back with me. I mean, it's definitely something I would love to do again, but it's really nice to have a home to come back to.
With 4 walls?
Yes, with 4 walls, no monkeys. Yeah.
And so we've mentioned Toy of the Gods a little bit, and you mentioned that it's a series, the Toy of the Gods series, but it's based on a character from other books. Is that right?
So the series, yes. So book 2, I don't want to give too much away, but someone from book 1 inherits the gods' powers, but it's not Leslie.
Oh.
And I didn't actually mean for this book to be a series. It kind of wrote itself, at the end. And I was like, oh, okay, I have to continue this. So book 2 follows this other side character from book 1. In book 2, she's dealing with these powers and has to solve a mystery. And then book 3 brings both her and Leslie back together. They have to go back out to the jungle to find their friend who's disappeared. And by book 4, they found out that there is a relative of the Inca god who is trying to take over the world, and they have to.
Oh, there you go.
Right? And they have to save the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I was mentioned when we were first starting, I've been thoroughly enjoying them. I think I mentioned that already, and I can't wait for the other ones because they are very easy to get through, exciting type page turners where you're like, I just can't believe that person, or we've got to keep flipping to find out what happens. So this is a great story of going outside your comfort zone to try something entirely new and thoroughly falling in love with it.
So I skate for Elevated Roller Derby, which is here in Albuquerque. And they, Elevated has been around for more than 20 years. And they started out as Duke City Roller Derby. And I love roller derby. I was walking through a Comic-Con and they were handing out flyers, and I picked up the flyer and I laughed because I was like, really? Because I was in my late 40s when I got handed that flyer. And my friend said, why not? And I was like, you know what? Why not? Because, sometimes you find some amazing adventures by, just doing things. So I went to my first night to learn how to skate. I hadn't skated since I was 13, and I was like a baby giraffe on skates. So I'm not exactly sure why I went back, but I love it. Like, first of all, it's a great workout, and I knew I wanted to stay in shape as I was getting older. Great group of people. I love all the people that I skate with, and it's just an amazing community as well.
For those who don't know roller derby, what can you sum it up to help explain it?
Oh boy. All right. So there's no ball in roller derby. I'll tell you that now. But basically, there are 5 teammates on each play. Okay. That's a terrible description. Let me start over. All right. So each team has about 20 players per game, right? So a jam runs about a minute. And for each jam, you put out 5 players for each team. So 4 of those players are blockers. And 1 of those players is the jammer. And the jammer is like the football. The jammer's got to get past people to make points. And the blockers are trying to make sure that jammer doesn't pass. So there is offense and defense going on at the same time. I often think that roller derby is very much like flying a plane, because you have to, no, seriously, like when you're flying a plane, you're paying attention to your altitude and everything all around you and all, lots going on. Same thing for roller derby players. You have so much attention you have to play to the other blockers, both jammers, what you're doing with your own body, making sure you're not causing any, you're not going to get called not going to get called on
some sort of offense or foul or something, or bad block or something.
Yes. So it takes a lot of brain power to be a roller derby player.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Because it seems so remarkably physical. I mean, lots of falling down, lots of elbows, lots of blocking, like you said. The first, is it a match? Is that?
It's a bout.
The first bout that you completed, were you sort of feeling it the next day a little bit extra ibuprofen or something?
A little bit. So when you play your first bout, your first real bout, you kind of don't remember much of it. I mean, I remember going out and I remember Clips, awesome skater, turning to me and saying, take a deep breath, relax, bend your knees. And that's pretty much
good advice for almost life, isn't it?
That's pretty much it. And so, that's pretty much all I remember from my first bout. But, as you skate more and more and you're in more bouts, you start remembering and you start figuring out what you're supposed to be doing.
Okay. But as part of the fun, like a character, and maybe I'm saying that wrong, or like a fun name or a fun accessories to what you do, or is that not true?
Well, my name in roller derby is Author of Pain.
Oh my gosh. That is the best. How perfect is that?
Right? Yeah. Right. That was one of my friends came up with that one for me. So, we all have fun with our names.
Okay.
Personally, my favorite thing is roller skating and parades, because, you get out there, get to have fun.
Yeah.
But I love roller derby itself, right? It's different. It's different than any other sport out there.
Oh, for sure. Thank you for listening to this edition of the Stories to Tell podcast. If you have a unique story you would like to tell, please reach out. It will be a pleasure to connect with you.